Over the past few weeks on Facebook, I've seen posts about the rising popularity of Pauline Hanson in Australia. If you don't know who that is, she's like the Australian equivalent of Donald Trump. For one thing, she's not very fond of immigrants, and she recently said that Australia should become a monocultural country. This got me thinking about myself, how I feel about Pauline Hanson, what I'm doing in Australia, and so on. Hence this video, I'm gonna talk about myself, my goals in life, what I'm doing in Australia, etc. Whether you're an Australian or an immigrant in Australia or anywhere in the world, whoever you are, I hope this video gives you some food for thought. First of all, let's get the facts about who I am and my motivations. I am a Burmese national. I was born in Burma, also known as Myanmar, and I hold a Burmese passport. I came to Australia on a student visa, and currently I have what they call a post-study work visa. Right now, I don't have a job or an income. My parents are supporting me financially. Yep, I know, I'm not the most productive person in the world at all. My life is a mess. Let's start from the beginning. When I was 18, I left Myanmar and went to the US to study at university. After I got a bachelor's degree, I just went back home to Myanmar immediately. I was young and naive. I didn't have any motivation about looking for a job in the US. I felt miserable in the US and I just wanted to get home as soon as possible. After I was home in Burma, I didn't really know what to do next. So I went to Scotland to do a master's degree there. Now, at the time, I did want to stay in the UK and therefore I looked for jobs, but that didn't go anywhere. And at that time, the UK government didn't give you post-study work visas, which means that after you graduate, you can't stay in the UK even to just look for a job. So I left the UK and I went home to Myanmar again. Now, I was back home again and I still didn't know what to do. But I started to realize that I was suffering from depression. So I started seeing a psychiatrist and started taking medication for clinical depression. It went like that for a few years, but eventually I started to feel better. And I gravitated towards making content and becoming an artist in Burma. COVID slowed things down for a bit, but it wasn't too much of a curveball. What really changed everything was what happened in 2021 in Myanmar, which was the military coup. The military took power from the government, and it changed everything. For one thing, a lot of young people, teenagers, people in their 20s, 30s, etc., kept leaving the country in waves, and I was one of them. Now I was in Bangkok and I started to think what I should do next, what I could do. Ideally, I would like to live in Burma and just make content and be an artist there. But it wasn't a good idea for me to be in Myanmar anymore. If I stay in Myanmar, I could be drafted into the military and be forced to fight in the civil war. So I needed to stay out of Myanmar, and therefore I started applying for jobs elsewhere. Thailand, Singapore, Hong Kong, countries across East Asia and Southeast Asia. That also didn't work out very well. So I started looking for university courses at the same time. Now, I didn't really want to go back to uni at that point. I already have 2 degrees and I don't want to burden myself and my parents with another university degree. Also, I felt like I was at that point in my life where I didn't need to go through a university education, but instead learn to teach myself the skills that I need to have. If I was in Myanmar or if I was anywhere where I didn't need to have a visa, maybe that would have been the case. But because I need a visa to go anywhere outside Myanmar, going through the university student pipeline seemed like the easiest option. I started looking at different courses in different universities, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. I especially look for programs related to filmmaking or 3D animation because I felt like content creation was the one thing that I would like to have a career in. And eventually I ended up in Australia. I came to Australia on a student visa. I finish the course and I switch into the post-study work visa. I'm eligible to stay for 3 years on that visa, so that's my current situation. Hearing Pauline Hanson and seeing people support her makes me think about myself and my relationship to Australia. Am I an immigrant here? Or am I just a temporary resident who will eventually leave Australia, just like I left the US and the UK before? Or does that not matter to Pauline Hanson because I am just another non-Australian sitting on Australian soil and occupying an Australian home and stealing Australians' jobs? If I want to settle here permanently but still don't know whether I'll be able to do that, can I still call myself an immigrant? Or is that too premature? Am I entitled to participate in this discussion about immigration in Australia or about how things should be running in Australia? Or should I leave that to the immigrants who have actually settled here? But then I realized that there's an even more important set of questions. Questions that I need the answers to first before I start thinking about my role in Australia. Who am I? What am I gonna do while I'm still alive? How will I support myself and my family financially? What talents do I have that people will pay me for? What kind of life do I want to live? I want to make my living as a content creator / artist. I think that's what will make life worth living for me. I want to take the experiences from my life, the questions that I have, the answers that I find, and turn them into some form of consumable content for other people to consume. And I'd like to be able to support myself and my family financially doing that. So essentially, becoming a professional YouTuber or content creator is one of my goals. There are other things that I want to do as well. I want to write, I want to make songs, I want to make movies, I want to discover and experience life for myself, and I want to present my findings to others through content. So far, I've managed to make just about 20 Australian dollars from my other YouTube channel, which is in Burmese, and especially from one particular video tutorial on how to use Canva. That's not much at all, I know, but I hope that I will be able to grow my online presence stronger and that I'll be able to monetize my content, whether that's a YouTube video or a movie or a song or even just a collection of short stories that I write in Burmese. Do I need to be in Australia to do that? No, not at all. As long as I have the freedom to live, freedom to do what I want, freedom to express myself without being forced to be in the military and without being forced to fight in a civil war, then yeah, I'm able to pursue whatever avenue of life or whatever career that I want to pursue. In fact, it doesn't even have to be an English-speaking country. I'm in my 30s and if necessary, I'm totally fine with picking up a third language. But do I want to be able to do it in Australia? Well, that would be nice. I've moved around quite a lot in my life, I think. Myanmar, the US, Myanmar, the UK, Myanmar, Thailand, and now Australia. I feel like a ship that has been just drifting through the ocean endlessly without being able to anchor anywhere. And I'd like to remain in Australia for the time being and maybe get some permanent residency if possible, so that I don't have to keep applying for a visa again and again. So what is it that I really want? The ideal situation would be for Burma to become a free country, a country where we all could live freely and express ourselves freely, elect our government freely. I want to be able to go back to Burma and live without the fear of getting arrested because of which posts I like on Facebook or what comments I write on Facebook. In that scenario, I'll go back to Burma and I'll be a content creator there. But if that's not the case yet, it would be nice if I can call Australia my second temporary home. And that's why I'm more interested in becoming a permanent resident in Australia and holding on to my Burmese passport instead of becoming an Australian citizen altogether, because I still want to keep the hope that within my lifespan I'll be able to go back to Burma and have my life there. So I guess that means Australia is my home for now, at least while I still have a valid visa. And it also probably means that I'm an immigrant in Australia, at least for the time being. Regarding Pauline Hanson and her narratives, I'll leave it to other people to put forward their narratives. I'm sure there are other people who are better at rhetorics than me, who are better at exposing the situation where immigrants are being made the scapegoats in Australia, so I'll leave it to them. This Pauline Hanson's narrative got me thinking about identity and belonging and the movement of people across the globe. At this point, I don't know whether I will be able to settle permanently in Australia or whether some situation will change which will allow me to go back to Burma. But at least I know that my sense of worth as a person and my value as a human being is not tied to my country of origin or my identity. It's also not tied to some paperwork like a certificate of citizenship or a passport. And neither should my sense of worth be measured by the number of subscribers I have or how much money I have. I decide that I'm gonna be happy and that I'm gonna make things that I find beautiful and relevant. I'm gonna put out writings, music, movies, content that I enjoy, and hopefully people who are similar to me also enjoy. In the grand scheme of things, life is as short as a lightning flash in the sky. And even though my life right now is a mess, even though I am falling behind my peers on many different aspects, and even though I'm gonna make myself a better person, I'm still gonna be proud of the person that I am today. And I decide to live happily. Cheers.